Okay, welcome. Split Fiction 2025, a Nerd Odyssey review. I am Dalt, and today I got I don't even know how I'm gonna pursue this. Joe number one and Joe number two. I'm not gonna specify who is number one or who is number two. I'll call you Gamble, and I'll call the other nice username. Is that fair?
Seems fair.
All right. That's how I will delineate the Joes today. But yeah, Split Fiction. Let's see, developed by Hazelight Studios, published by EA. For once, gentlemen, EA did something consumer friendly, where one person just needs to own the game. And Gamble, this is you and I played together. Gamble played Split Fiction, and so yeah, the whole stick is that one person just needs to simply own the game. And you can invite the other person who just needs to download the game for free, right? You just need that invite. And yeah, I was pretty happy to see EA did that. You know what I mean?
It's nice.
Yeah, I thought that aspect was so clutch. Like, I don't even know if I would have bought the game if that wasn't there.
Yeah.
Right,
maybe now after I heard all the good reviews, I would have bought it. But when we first got into it, that was so huge.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was going to play with my nephew at first, but then he couldn't get it because it had to be a Xbox Game Pass, and he's like, my mom won't buy me Game Pass. He's 8, mind you. So I was like, yo, let's you're 8, we can't see each other all the time. Let's play some games together. So then I put it into the chat. I was like, Gams, I need you, brother. So you came up big, Gams, and EA Sports came up big for us. We're happy about that. But quick little summary, and then I have a rule, gentlemen, that we'll get into. But quick little summary is that you take on the roles of Mio, who is a sci-fi writer, and these are novel writers, fiction writers, and Zoe, who is a fantasy writer. And they're two total strangers lured into a publishing company's, what would you even call it? Machine of some sort, a publishing company's thought machine that traps them in simulations of their own stories. So together, Mio and Zoe, they got to escape by navigating these alternating sci-fi and fantasy worlds that kind of reflect their contrasting creative visions, which really makes the creativity of the game just next fucking level. Shit that I've never experienced, and I'm sure you guys might feel the same.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's co-op only. Like we alluded to, you can invite a friend to play because it is that co-op only aspect. You can invite a friend to play via a friend pass, and they don't have to buy it. Again, they just need to DL it, which is a huge perk. Huge perk. So gentlemen, my review, or my rule, I'll say, is that we're each going to give a number. I'll go first and just kind of give a quick summary. Then we'll get into the different aspects like the gameplay, the story, the mechanics, all that fun jazz. But we're going to give a number, 1 to 10. So one review right out of the gate. I'm giving mine a 7.9. Amazingly fun gameplay. Fun as can be. I'm biased. I grew up playing multiplayer games, so I love the social aspect of it. Gamble, you and I have a history playing Halo, and I had to whoop your ass at Smash Bros a bunch of times, so we played a lot of multiplayer, So if you have a buddy that you love to game with, I think it's a must buy. What do you guys think?
Oh yeah,
absolutely incredible game. Yeah, maybe I'll go next. I was thinking 8.5. I think it's a super fun game, and I love the split screen aspect of it. I think I said while we were playing, like, it felt like we were kind of playing next to each other. Like we were back at college, just sitting on the couch drinking a beer, playing. So it's got a real,
dude. Well said.
Yeah, the co-op part is really cool, and I also love the other games from this developer. It Takes Two, and the other one was like a Prison Break game. A Way Out. Yep, exactly. So I played both of those and really loved them. So like you said, if you like co-op game and you like platformers, puzzle, that type of thing, amazing game.
Yeah, that's kind of their thing, right? Hazelight Studios, they only make split-screen co-op games. And, it almost feels like a dying art. It's not really a genre. It's not even a feature included in so many games that you push to, 1, sell more copies, and 2, put everyone online. And that works out nowadays, but it's kind of, this is the way we grew up, like you're saying. And I miss it, co-op games. So it's so refreshing to get co-op only titles, and like that's the main focus of the studio. I just have so much respect for their team. not only for how excellent every single game they've made is, but just for their mission in general to bring co-op gaming back. Anyway, to answer your question, I'd give this game a 9. That's
solid.
I was already telling people this before we ever got together and thought we'd do an episode like this. I was telling all my friends this game is a solid 9 out of 10, A plus, well maybe A minus, but
Nice.
there's a section towards the end, and that's all I'm gonna say. But this section towards the end is an 11 out of 10.
Yeah,
Amazing. I was blown away by some of the content as you reach the finale. I feel like I must give it 2 numbers. Again, this is what I was telling the same thing to everyone before any mentions of doing an episode, that this game is an excellent 9, and that ending is an 11. No question.
yeah. Without getting too much, because we're gonna go spoiler free. We're gonna attempt to go spoiler free, I'll say. But yeah, the last hurrah is groundbreaking in terms of the graphics, in terms of the gameplay. So we can say that, and I think not reveal too much. You know what I mean? But I agree with you, Joe, and I think you said it well. There's a reason Split Fiction did well, and it's a Game of the Year contender. You know what I mean? I think it's well over 4 million units sold. It's gross, like damn near 50 million just on Steam. You know what I mean? So this is a game, and that's with the friend pass. Half of the people playing didn't even fucking buy the game. You know what I mean? So you're right, dude. It's bringing the co-op aspect back. Gamble, I love what you said where we were playing next to each other, and we just hopped in the Discord and we could chat, and it felt like I was like, just go over to the right there, dude. Like I could see your screen, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it was cool. It definitely made it a lot more personable, you know what I mean? And personal, having that split screen setup. So that's great. So Joe, you kind of alluded to it, certain parts that were great. So let's talk about some specifics. Let's talk about some gameplay. To sum it up, I think the gameplay and mechanics were a perfect score for me, 10 out of 10. There's certain areas that dropped it down for me later in the podcast. I'm sure we'll talk about, but it's Gamble alluded to. It's fully split screen. It's fully co-op. Very, very tight coordination and shared control moments is going to be the way I'm going to say it. You have to work together 75-80% of the time. The levels will constantly shift mechanics. You'll be a platformer, and then all of a sudden you're trying to solve a puzzle of some sort. And then you're in combat, you're swinging swords or shooting guns, and then you're stealth, trying to navigate through without getting spotted. And then you're playing fucking arcade flipper physics.
Oh, yeah.
It is next level. We're talking wild level designs and perspective changes that keep things fresh, dude.
Excellent level design.
Yeah, like dragon taming, hoverboards, energy whips. Then you shapeshift into a fucking gorilla. So although the controls were the same, if you play it on keyboard and mouse, you have WASD, right? Mm-hmm. Or if you play controller, of course, your joystick. But the controls, you move the same, but it felt so different because you were doing such different things. You were skydiving, and then you were just jumping as a platformer. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the transitions were super easy too. It's like there's never like, oh, let me figure out what we're doing here. It's just like, oh, we're doing this, and now we're doing this, and it all was just really fluid in how the controls worked, I thought.
You're absolutely right. I never like went into something and be like, oh, what's the point of what we're doing here? It set you up perfectly to be like, okay, Gamble, you're the ball that's flying through the air. I'm the flipper physics that's trying to shoot the ball out other areas. You know what I mean? So it does drop you right in, and it's nonstop action. That's what I like. Yeah, they'll have their cutscenes, right? Short 2 to 5 minute cutscenes, and then it gets you right back in, and then it's action for an hour and a half. You know what I mean?
And I love how a lot of the mechanics are like callbacks to other games. Like, Dalton, how many times as we were playing, I was like, oh, this is like, I don't know how much we want to give away, but there's a lot of callbacks that I think it just like makes it a lot of fun to play.
So much love for other games.
Dude, there's a lot of Easter eggs too. There's a lot of like movie quote play-ins and you're right. Like I'll say like Easter eggs to other video games. You know,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
The amount of references is out of control, and they're good. They're tastefully done. They're clever. They're funny. It's really good. Like from top to bottom, the amount of polish is actually crazy. It's really hard to find any bugs. I never encountered one really. And the level design is it's top tier. I think it was really accessible. We rarely got stuck, but it didn't feel too easy. It was fun to keep going and going. And we both went in blind, me and the person I played with, and there were a couple difficult moments for sure where we did hit a wall, but I'd say by and large it's just good. Like the difficulty was perfectly tuned. And one of my favorite things that they really lean into right from the get-go, so I wouldn't consider this a spoiler, is that one of the characters is a science fiction writer and the other is medieval, like old historical fiction. Like classical
fantasy.
stuff.
Yep.
Yes, fantasy. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. And so I love this dichotomy between the two and the way they flip flop between one level is going to be more space themed, the other one is going to maybe remind you of Harry Potter or something with wizards and magic. And they're always jumping between the two because the two main characters, they're writers of those genres. And I really liked that. I'm always telling my friends how much I prefer science fiction and I don't like playing games set in high fantasy. And here comes this game which plays right on that. So the fact you're always bouncing between so many variety, there's such a great variety of levels. Not to mention they have some of these silly ones. There's a level where you are literally like food. And it was hilarious. There is one level where you are a pig and you jump in it using like your farts, and it's just like kind of potty humor, but we were cracking up, dude. It's hilarious. Jumping around, rolling in poop, like literally just out of control. I think there was one where you're a tooth and there's some kind of dentist. Oh my god, I'm just starting to remember just so much variety, so much art. Like the artwork was all incredible, the animation's incredible. I'm just thinking back and I'm just like, oh my god, this is a excellent game.
Yeah, two things based off what you said. I want to go back to that difficulty level because I agree. Gamble, there was like three or four times where we're like, shit, what the fuck? Why can't we figure this out? We got to time this perfect. Like there's a lot of timing stuff you have to hit that takes a while. And I agree with you. I think it was just difficult enough. There were times where you weren't getting frustrated, be like, all right, come on, what's going on here?
I thought it was very accessible.
We played the Black Myth Wukongs. We've seen the frustration, and it's rewarding when you beat that boss. But this is great. It's fun. That's why I said gameplay and mechanics were 10 out of 10. Now, Joe, you were the examples you were alluding to were some of the side stories. Gamble and I had a harsh reality playing this game. Is that we're both dads and we're both hard workers. So the amount of time that we had was very, very slim. It would actually be like, yo, Wednesday night, 8:22. I got some time. Can you hop on here? And like it was just like, hey, we had to find time. So we didn't do too many of the side stories. I think we could count on one hand how many of them we did. One, two, or three maybe. But yeah. So watching some YouTube videos of some of the gameplay, and it just takes the main story which is already crazy enough. How many times, Gabe, when we're playing, we're like, this is fucking crazy. It's already crazy enough in terms of what you're doing and controlling. Hoverboard races, energy whips, and then you're a gorilla, and then you're a butterfly flying around. You know what I mean? So it already takes that craziness, and these side stories just make it next level fucking crazy. But while you're playing it, you're just having fun, you're laughing. How many times do we crack up, Gamble? Even when one person, like in terms of the gameplay still we're talking about, and so like one person kept fucking up, like it wasn't frustrating, it was funny as shit. I was like, I can't swing from this goddamn pillar. You know what I mean?
I think two things on that is that one, you can watch your partner try to do the thing, so it makes it even funnier. And also the fact that when you die, you just respawn instantly. There's no downtime. You just die and you just try it again. That's what I think reduces the frustration a lot.
Huge.
Right, there's no save you have to go back to. Yeah,
it's always saving. It's perfectly accessible. It's not meant to. It's the game wants you to complete it. It wants you to get through the content. It really doesn't want you to repeat things because you died. That it's not about that.
Yeah, I do wonder if we're all like gamers. I do wonder. I played It Takes Two with my wife. I do wonder if she played this, it might be a little bit much for her. But what do you guys think? Like a non-gamer playing it, do you think they would still be able to?
I think it's highly accessible. I think this is one of the most accessible games out there. So I would recommend it to non-gamers for sure. The controls are simple, and like we've been saying, it doesn't punish you for dying at all. You just start over right where you jumped from, right where you were a second ago, really. And because of that, I think it's one of the most accessible games that it's for everybody. It's not
the fact that you can just keep trying makes it funny when you die, not frustrating, which I think is huge.
Yeah, so Gav, you're saying with It Takes Two, and you were playing with your wife, it was frustrating for her. It was really difficult for her.
At parts, she's not great at like moving and looking at the same time. So there was a couple times where she was like struggling with it, but we did kind of get through it.
Right.
This, I think, it's some of the mechanics are just so crazy, but like we've been saying, the controls are good, the respawns are quick, so I still think we can get through it. But
I wonder like that does bring up an interesting point, because gaming feels so mainstream. Even if you're not a gamer, like you still played 20 video games, 10 video games, 5 video, you know what I mean? You still played, with how mainstream it is. I mean, video games gross higher than the biggest movies nowadays, you know what I mean? So it's like, I wonder if we were gamers and we found it just difficult enough. I wonder even if someone who didn't game, like, oh, I know the controls, this will be all right, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
I do think this game actually broke out of like the gamer sphere. Like I had a bunch of people who I don't usually talk about games with be like, hey, you hear about this game Split Fiction? So
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, well, hey, I want to move on. So we got the gameplay down. Let's briefly hit on like the audio, the music, the sound. This took a little bit of a hit for me. I feel like the music was mediocre at best. The music could have made the game tremendously better during the gameplay, especially during like boss fights or crazy parts where you're skydiving. I feel like it could have got you more in the zone. It could have been more upbeat. You know what I mean? It seemed like it was relatively just quiet, low key, and just more kind of like mystery-ish, sci-fi-ish-esque at times,
Yeah. Coming from Expedition 33, where every song elevates the game to another level. It didn't get to that point.
It didn't feel that once.
No.
I kind of forgot the music, so I guess
that's exactly what I was gonna say.
It didn't take away from it for me, but it could have been a little bit better.
It's forgettable. I would call the music serviceable. It did its job. It fit.
Yep.
It fit right, and it worked, but it wasn't matching the quality of the gameplay, which is top tier. The gameplay and the artwork is very good. And the music, good, but not out of this world. I'm gonna play these tracks back in my free time kind of thing.
Right. I went through that whole YouTube channel of Expedition 33 and listened to the in-studio session. That's how good that fucking music was.
Insane.
And now listen, that's generational video game music greatness right there. You know what I mean? So but we all have the video game music that we love and we think of, but you're right, it's almost totally forgettable. You're like, well, I don't even remember what it even sounded like. You know what I mean? So you're right, it was serviceable. It got you in the zone a little bit, but like I said, I feel like the game as a whole would have been tremendously better with good or great music, especially during those crazy parts where you're skydiving, motorcycle riding. I feel like it fell short.
Yeah. There was a track or two, especially during the sci-fi scenes. And again, I already listened to a ton of synthwave, which is like 80s retro modern 80s style music, and
Mhm.
there was like one track out of the whole game. I remember one track telling my friend, "Hey, this is pretty sick," but
Nice.
that was
Yeah.
it.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. Fell short. Could have improved. Joe, you talked about. You already talked about the graphics and the performance a little bit. Well done. It looked great and it ran smooth as shit. For us, loading screens were very very brief. I said in the Doom Dark Ages, we did a review on Doom the Dark Ages, right? And I said that Doom the Dark Ages has set a new precedent with loading times. You know, this is a game that had very extreme graphic card requirements, and you hit the space bar, it said loading for a second, and then it popped right up. You die, it loaded for a second, you popped right up. I think Split Fiction wasn't too far off. I think for a game that looked as well as it did, it ran very smoothly. It's now on Switch 2, which I haven't played it on yet, but I hear that it's ported there very well as well, you know? And then gorgeous environments. I mean, you're talking
Yes.
neon cyberpunk labs to these like pastel fantasy realms, very artsy cinematic camera angles that, man, they shine, dude. I think it was really well done.
Yes.
Yeah, agree. I also think some of the sound was good. Like I remember some of these stages that had like huge moving like machinery or
Oh,
just
yeah.
like huge moving elements on the screen, and I feel like the sound of those things kind of made them pop a little bit.
The
But
sound effects were very good. Like
yeah,
the effects of the audio, you jump on things, they go boing, these kinds of
yep.
things. They were, I would say, excellent too.
Agreed.
What were you just oh, performance.
The
So
performance, yeah.
yeah, so performance was good. Is great. I think they would cleverly mask some loading screens like during a cutscene or something. You might get a load in the background.
Right.
So it was just nice and smooth. I noticed zero performance problem. I was playing on a console, I was playing on PS5 where it's a little more expected that
Mhm.
it just works. On PC, there's more hardware out there that they can't test for every PC type. And so I can't really speak to that.
Yeah, I Far from top of the line and it was fine.
Good. One other thing about performance is it is an Unreal Engine 5 game, which on release of UE5, especially the first couple of years, because it's a little more mature than it's not as new as I think it's about 3 years old, Unreal Engine 5. And a lot of UE5 games don't run very well. They just
Mm.
don't. Be it they don't compile shaders up front. There's just all these things that make performance in UE5 games maybe a little hard to pull off unless they're optimized well. And I think this game was totally optimized, and I have nothing but good things to say about performance for sure.
Yeah. I think you said it. I think you said it, man. That sums it up. I mean, even like we keep alluding to Expedition 33, which, you know, it's like kind of like the perfect game of the year so far. You know what I mean? And it's fair to compare it to that. You know, both released this
Oh
year.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I noticed that quite a bit with Expedition 33. That there were some times where I was like, look at that guy's face. What the fuck's going on with his face? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So there was a little bit of that with the performance issue in Expedition 33. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like Split Fiction. I can't think of one time where I was like, "Oh, hey, look at that! It's glitching or something," you know.
Oh
So,
yeah. I mean, E33's crashed my PC probably 20 times. I had real issues, but I would just plow through it because the game was so good.
yeah, because it's a perfect game. Yeah,
I
yep.
really liked it.
One more thing I wanted to hit on. You talked about the sound effects, the voice acting. Well done at times, but could be very cheesy. Which the story, which we're going to hit on in a second here. But the voice acting, when they're just doing their thing and chatting, it was well done. But as when they really tried to dive into the story and the emotions came out, I was like, oh, come on. You know, I felt myself wanting to get back to the action. You know what I mean? And perhaps that was because the story fell short, but I thought the voice acting could have been better. What do you guys think about that?
I think the voice acting was similar to the music for me. It was serviceable. Like I didn't think it was bad, but I also wasn't like, oh my god, they are really good.
Right,
But
right.
Yeah. I thought the two main characters were well voiced. I thought Raider, the antagonist, was pretty well voiced. Again, I agree in the sense that they didn't stand out as outstanding. It's just good.
I think some of the quips they would have, like, while you're doing the gameplay, like, back and
Oh
forth
yeah,
with each other,
that was good.
those are pretty
Yes.
funny and probably my favorite parts of the voice acting.
Yeah, well, I
Yes.
guess one thing I want to note that was really positive about the voice acting is just how much of it there was. The game was there was lines for everything, and there was always voice acting every minute, or like every moment that mattered. The characters would voice their opinion and stuff, and that felt good. It felt more believable. It kind of got me more immersed in the game. Should add
You're
another
right.
point on it.
Yeah, no, it's when you got into a new zone, like wow, like
Oh,
they'll
I
drop something.
remember.
Go ahead.
So you touched a bit on how it felt a little weak when they really went with more heavy storyline material, especially towards the end, of course,
Sure.
naturally. And I kind of agree. I definitely agree with that. That I think it might have fell short. This could be a writing thing too, that it just wasn't written strongly enough. The game is, I think, T for teen or something, and it's not really meant. It's not meant to be that heavy or serious. It's
Fair
a
point.
all ages
Mhm.
game, but I do agree that when there were some cutscenes where they're trying to pull the heartstrings a bit, and I didn't care that much. I was kind of just like, yeah, okay, like
Yeah.
I wanted to care, and I wasn't gonna skip any cutscenes for certain, but yeah, I was kind of like, oh yeah, get on with it for some of those moments, yeah.
Yeah, and tailing right off that, like going more into the story, Mio and Zoe each had a bit of a sob story where they integrated each of their personal history into the stories. You know, they're
Yeah.
writers. I'm sure they have influence with their stories, and they kind of fed off that. And they each had their stories with some family members and some drama, I guess, that they were going through. But
Mhm.
it felt like they made it way too dramatic. It felt forced.
Mhm.
You know, Mio is this like stubborn, tough love kind of gal, while Zoe is this kind of ditzy and over the top, like personable, like, hey, what's going on? What are you eating there over there? You know what I mean? Over the top, like personable as you play through the characters.
Mhm.
Um, so they each had a bit of their own little like sob stories, and which have ended up kind of tying into the end there without getting too much into it. But you're right, it just was very cheesy. Is my best word I can say about the story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These sob stories, like I said, they just made way too dramatic. And
Yeah.
one thing I will say on the story is that the villain I thought had like it's such a typical greedy CEO that we've all seen 1,000 times, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
No direct personal antagonism, really. I didn't have any emotional connection to this guy. He was just a greedy prick.
Yeah.
I didn't feel invested in defeating him. I didn't think once I was like, I can't wait to take this motherfucker down. I compare
Mhm.
him to like the Andrew Ryan, the GLaDOS, the Handsome Jacks. These villains made us uncomfortable. You know
Yes.
what I mean? And I know I'm comparing; they're the all-time greats. But this CEO, I don't even remember his name. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think the story is really where this game took a hit for me.
It's a good point.
A good, cool idea, but the voice acting, the ditziness, and tying in with this cheesy CEO just dropped.
That's how I feel. I feel like the idea carries a lot of the weight here. Like, the idea is cool,
Yes.
and I
Uh-huh.
like
Yes.
that. I also like the self-reflection aspect of it, but then, like, the specific execution leaves something to desire, like you said, Doll. I think one thing that I would point out is I feel like the whole thing is about, like, their self-reflection, but they don't notice that it's, like, their story kind of towards the end. I'm trying to walk a line without spoiling it,
Right.
um but yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you said that it could have been a little bit better in the story realm, but
Yeah, no, I agree with what you guys are both saying. And there's two things I want to touch on. One is that I do agree that Raider, the antagonist, the evil CEO, greedy man, gonna steal all the
Mhm.
stories from everybody. He just is a bit flat as a character. He doesn't have any motivations beyond money. He doesn't change his personality. He's always an asshole the entire game. It's just flat as opposed to a more dynamic character that's a little more shifting in their personality.
Flat is a good way to describe him. That's
Yeah.
I would agree.
He's kind of a means to the end. He's like a vehicle for the story.
So the what I did like, and you touched on this as well, Joe, that the gameplay itself, there were moments in the story where the one character would look at the other and say, "What's going on in your head here? Why is there this evil demon or whatever?" I don't even particularly remember. I'm just kind of making this up. But what is this? What is this darkness inside your mind? Because the stages were all based off of the writing of the two protagonists, so the two characters. Again, they're authors, and they're writing stories, and the evil CEO has trapped them in a simulation which basically extracts the story from their mind. And so you'd play through these levels, and I thought that was actually a positive note for me. At least it spiked my intrigue. I would be more interested and go, oh, like, what is buried inside their head? What kind of demons lie? And that could have probably been executed a bit better, because I would get interested, and then it would just be like, whatever. Whenever that concluded. So yes, definitely some stuff I thought was just really cool, really fun, and some stuff was just okay as far as story goes.
Dude, I'm really glad you said that, and I didn't even think about that. That I enjoyed that aspect of it, because there's something about the human psyche and human mind that we all find interesting. Like, look at these like Netflix shows, or like Inside the Mind of a Serial Killer or something, where they like interview serial killers or interview these sick people. You know what I mean? Not that Mio and Zoe were sick, but you're like, yo, this girl's got some fucked up shit. What is happening here? You know what I mean? And it makes you think, like, what would be inside my mind? Maybe I got some fucked up shit in there too. You know what I mean? So there is something about the mind and the psyche that strikes some kind of nerve. And you're right. I did enjoy that aspect of it. That was a good take there.
Yeah, thanks, man. I thought it was clever, and I thought it was really good in terms of some of the positive things that I thought were positive in the game.
Yeah, agreed. One last thing I want to talk about, and I don't think I prepped you guys on this at all, but I want to talk about replayability. We can kind of come up with it on the spot here.
Sure.
For me, it was pretty solid. I would play this again. It was amazingly fun. Yeah, maybe you remember how to do the puzzles and the boss battles and everything like that, but the variability in the gameplay makes it very high for the replayability for me. Like, oh yeah, I forgot I turned into a gorilla here. This is fucking sick. You know what I mean? There's no repetitive nature to the game whatsoever, because you've done everything. You've ridden a motorcycle, and you were playing pinball, doing gravity physics, and then you were surfboarding. You know what I mean? So it's it really is high on the replayability aspect for me.
Yeah, for sure. I would play it again. I think one thing we already mentioned is we didn't do all the side missions, so I would like to try those out. I also think one other thing is that replaying it with someone else would probably be a different experience. Like I mentioned, playing with my wife, I think would be way different than playing with you, Dalton, as far as
right.
What we get stuck on, what's funny, what happens.
Yeah.
So for sure.
No, that makes sense. I think your answers are pretty interesting, because to be totally honest with you, I was going to rate the replayability of this game pretty low. I think a good amount of the gameplay itself is there's a puzzle element to it where you might wonder, how do I do this? And the answer is usually just some jumping on or pulling on the right switch or whatever. So that definitely goes away once you know how to beat a section. You just know, and the puzzles aren't terribly difficult, so you'll just remember. But I can't help but agree with your statements about just the sheer amount of variety and content that exists in the game. There's so much, and it's so unique and wonderfully executed that I would definitely play again too. So I wouldn't say that the game is not replayable. I would kind of give it like a middle of the road replayability.
I probably wouldn't replay it with someone else who's already played it. But I think if you replayed it with someone who's playing for the first time, you can kind of let them take the lead. I think that would be fun.
That's actually such a good point, and I definitely agree with that.
You know how when Game of Thrones was big, remember there was Red Wedding reactions, like season 3 of the Red Wedding, like they would film people reacting to the Game of Thrones. And that was one thing I kind of enjoyed. I wasn't looking up these reactions, but like I would talk to people who were reliving Game of Thrones for the first time, be like, "What'd you think? What episode you on? Blah blah blah." So it would be cool to experience the game with someone who hasn't played it before, and especially Joe, like we talked about, nice username, like we talked about, and that you alluded to, is that ending. And someone who appreciates game design, appreciates level design, appreciates gameplay, and going through that with them for the first time, and then be like, "Holy shit, this is fucking crazy!" Be like, "Oh, I know, it's fucking nuts," you know. So I think that would be pretty cool. You know, that would be worth it for me to go back and relive that. With someone, you know, and the gameplay, the variety and nonstop inventive gameplay has really got pretty much consistent praise across multiple outlets. I mean, this is a game that Metacritic, GameSpot, B&G all rated very, very high, 9 and above out of 10. You know what I mean? So it's really already received universal acclaim, Game of the Year contender. You know what I mean? So, no doubt about it.
It definitely is up for grabs. This game could absolutely take a Game of the Year title. It is that good.
Yeah.
And just before we move on, I did want to mention myself those side stories are great in terms of replayability. I mean, I feel like they were deliberately made, or at least they put them, you know, they tucked them away in more hidden locations that you could easily run, like just pass them up. Those are intentionally made so you can go replay them back, and that's just good stuff. I think that they gave you something to go back and get for sure.
That's well said, man. And to wrap up, I mean, I think we kind of made our point clear where, like, hey, if this is a co-op game, if you have a buddy, if you have a friend and you're up for some fun, I mean, I think it's an absolute buy. Totally worth it. Only one of you needs to buy the game. You can split it and the other person downloads it for free. That is a huge win. We're all consumers here. We're not getting any games for free, right? We all bought this game. So that's a huge up on my end. And you know, hey, 7.9 out of 10, but you can split it. It's a cheap. That was my rating, the 7.9 out of 10. It's a cheap one, and it's a lot of fun. The only weakness for me is that the narrative just felt cliched, like we talked about. A little shallow banner, uninspired villain, affects your emotional investment, but it's fun. Have a drink, play some Split Fiction. That sums my rant up.
Perfect. That's perfect. It's an excellent game. I recommend it to everybody.
Yep, absolutely.
Very good. Very good, gentlemen. Well, thank you both for joining me.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks for suggesting and getting me into this game.
Yes. Thank you for downloading the free copy and joining and laughing at each other, trying to complete these games, man. It was fun.
Good times. It makes you want to play more co-op games.
That's right. I know. We have to, for sure.